to this video that is kind of very random and that I decided to make on a whim. I wanted to make a character guide for all the characters in Scum Villain, and specifically Shen Qingqiu and Binghe, and basically talk you through the creative decisions behind how I decided to voice these characters. First of all, I want to say thank you to all those people who listened from the very start, because I wasn't very good at reading in the very beginning. It was very much just like a really random project that I had on the side. I was trying to get better at my Mandarin name pronunciations, and then I got really, really into all the characters because they're so brilliantly written. I genuinely love every single character in Scum Villain, and I really put my heart and soul as the chapters went on into voicing all of them well, according to my own understanding of the characters. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at Shen Qingqiu as a character. Shen Qingqiu, for the most part, he is very grounded when he's talking. He sounds like how I normally voice the narration or the text of Scum Villain, for the most part. So for example, when he is talking to his disciples, when he's giving instructions, even when he's asking a question, he usually pitches his words down. So for example, go bring Binghe here. When Shen Yuan is actually having his inner panic all the time, he sounds like he's crying for the majority of the time. So, I can't afford your submission. If you pay respects to me today, you're definitely going to have to kneecap me in the future. Very much in my head voice region, but when he is trying to act as the original Shen Qingqiu, who is very, very scummy, he has a much more pushy kind of tone. So, don't let anyone see. They might think my Qingqiu peak abuses its disciples. So it's a lot more pushy. He kind of separates his syllables and forces them out as if through clenched teeth. So he's a lot more mocking and, as he said, cold. Shen Yuan, Shen Qingqiu is from our modern world, so he is often referencing memes, putting on different voices. But I praised you and you goofed up again. I'll kind of add little memes. He will kind of shift his inner monologue however he wants. So yeah, basically I just have a lot of fun with that. Another thing that you might find kind of interesting is Shen Qingqiu says Binghe with a lot of air through his words, if that makes sense. It's a lot more airier than his other words. And I modeled that off of the Scum Villain anime or Donghua. He's like, Binghe, Binghe, Binghe. He has such a tone of concern when he's saying Lord Binghe's name, which I found really interesting. Okay, now talking about Lord Binghe's voice. So Lord Binghe's voice actually goes through so many transformational changes throughout the story. The White Lotus Lord Binghe also does the same thing as Shen Qingqiu, where he says Shizun with a lot of air through it, like very tenderly, very delicately, like Shizun, 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 like with so much concern and so much worry and so much love. Especially when he's a White Lotus, he sounds like a golden retriever. So if I were to deliver this line, it would sound like, if Shizun likes it, may I give it to him every day with variations. It's usually very upward in tone. Most sentences are hoping for approval, hoping for validation from Shen Qingqiu. At this stage, Lord Binghe is about 17 or 18, and he has just come back from doing some interstate duties, I guess. And Lord Binghe is actually getting a little flirty here. He says, of course Shizun is allowed. Am I pleasing to look at? If White Lotus 14-year-old Binghe was saying this, it would be like, of course Shizun is allowed. Am I pleasing to look at? It's a lot more like, I'm an excited puppy, but Lord Binghe here is a lot more teasing, and I definitely wanted to showcase that difference. Oh my goodness. And then when we get to Black Lotus 骆宾河, Sadist 骆宾河, I find his voice quite difficult to pull off, but I definitely wanted to show a difference. I wanted to show that he is very menacing. He is angry, but it's kind of like a deadly kind of angry, not like an outbursty angry. He does have outbursty moments, but it is always laced with this hint of hurt, but also this hint of flirtiness. It's very complicated. So unfortunately, I am a woman, so I don't have that low of a range to play with. When working with his voice, I definitely tried to kind of engage a lot more of my resonance and my cavities in my throat so I can sound a little bit lower. And then I add a little bit of an inflection with Shizun. So, why did Shizun run so fast? I try to whisper and take my time, and then what I also really like to do is show that differentiation between his different stages of Shizun. 14-year-old White Lotus 骆宾河 would be like Shizun, and then his 17-year-old is a little bit more teasing, so it would be like Shizun, am I pleasing to look at? And then now this Shizun is Shizun, are you here for me? Why are you being so mean to me? Why are you always abandoning me? So it's a lot more laced with heaviness towards the end of the word and dragging out that last syllable. And what I try to do is that even when he is being a sadist or when he's angry, he always somehow, on certain words, he will add a quiver in his voice because he's about to cry at any given moment. We all know the final form, spoiler alert, Crybaby 骆宾河, which is his final Pokemon form. So I always wanted to show in his voice that small transformations that he goes under through 14, 17, 20, that then allows him to become his full Crybaby self. So yeah, so whenever he is talking, he always ends up slightly quivering. And of course, in this sentence, he is really realizing that he's actually always being loved by Shizun. Shizun, I really know I was wrong. I never wanted to kill you. So yes, still very much engaging my crying voice, I guess, the more resonant part of my throat, and then keeping it low as I can. Anyway, thanks for listening to my little spiel about how I voiced Shen Qingqiu and 骆宾河, and let me know if you want me to do a character voice acting guide for all the other characters, because it was really interesting to come up with the female characters because I have more of a range, and also the male characters. So yeah, let me know, and I will see you in the next chapter's recording. Bye bye.